And with Marcus Aurelius specifically, he's not writing that he's grateful for his piles of money and his massive armies or anything like that. He's thinking of the mentors that he's had and the lessons that he's been taught and the way in which his experiences have shaped him into the man that he is. Well, hello and welcome. Today we have an installment of our book review series where you'll learn 7 pieces of insight from some of the world's most impactful books. Today we have a big one. This is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And if I may interject, this is personally one of my favorite books of all time. Marcus Aurelius served as the emperor of Rome from the years AD 161 to 180. So he lived right about 2,000 years ago. He was the emperor of one of the most powerful empires around its height. And while you may have some preconceived ideas of what such a powerful person would be doing with his spare time, with all the money, all the fame, all of the power and control, and rather than doing what you might expect, he was spending his alone time journaling and evaluating himself. And that's where this book, Meditations, comes as a result. The story goes that it was never written as a book to be published, that it was more his personal journal, his personal diary and thoughts that have survived for so many centuries and that we're fortunate enough to be able to read through today. Kicking things off with lesson 1 is the importance of self-reflection and self-review. So Marcus Aurelius, you'll notice as you read through the book, is clearly going through his thoughts, and he revisits a lot of concepts. One of the things he's constantly checking himself on is his level of morality, how good of a person he is, how good of a citizen he is within his society, how impactful and important of a leader he is, and how well he serves the people that he leads. And this is important in any scenario for any individual, to constantly be making sure that you're holding yourself to high standards and that you're proud of the person that you are. It's even more impressive for somebody with such a level of power who frankly probably could have gotten away with acting however he wanted to. He was still spending his alone time asking himself whether or not he was a good person, taking a look under careful consideration at his thoughts, at his actions, and really picking them apart and determining what is going well, what is not going well, and how he can become better each and every day. Lesson 2 is the importance and the value of gratitude. So the first book in Meditations is actually titled Lessons and Debts, where Marcus Aurelius goes and outlines everything and everybody and every event that he's grateful for and what it taught him. And gratitude is something that is really impactful, and it becomes, in a good way, infectious as you embrace it more. So gratitude journaling is actually a habit that we're going to cover in a future episode of our Habit Mastery series here on YouTube. It's something that when you start to actively look out into the world for what you have to be grateful for, it's almost like it puts this lens over you and you start to view everything through this half glass full type of perspective. You start to become much more hyper aware of everything that you have to be grateful for because you're constantly looking for it. And you'll soon very quickly realize when you start implementing this process of cultivating gratitude that there is literally an endless list of things that everybody has to be grateful for. I mean, there truly is an infinite number of reasons that we have to be grateful. There's so much abundance and so many blessings around us. The other thing that has been commonly talked about is that when you actively take note of what you're grateful for, it in a lot of scenarios tends to manifest more to be grateful for. It's almost like you're putting it out there to the universe or to God or to whoever you believe in, that you are appreciative of what is being brought to you. And then in return, you kind of open yourself up to receive more. And with Marcus Aurelius specifically, he's not writing that he's grateful for his piles of money and his massive armies or anything like that. He's thinking of the mentors that he's had and the lessons that he's been taught and the way in which his experiences have shaped him into the man that he is. Lesson number 3 is facing and overcoming the fear of death. So I I think it's pretty common that a lot of people have a fear of dying, that, leaving this earth is something that's very scary. And Marcus Aurelius is under the philosophy of Stoicism, this idea of just accepting things the way they are, facing the scary aspects of our world in a brave and sort of indifferent manner, where they are aware of their emotions. And it's not that they don't feel their emotions, but they do their best to not let them cloud their judgment or to cloud their actions. And Marcus Aurelius talks a lot about overcoming the fear of death in a lot of different scenarios, and sort of making peace with it and just accepting it as an aspect of being alive, of being a human being. But one of the most profound things that he talks about is this concept that if you've seen any number of days on this planet, it's as if you've seen them all. This concept of whether you've lived 5 years or 100 years, the same sort of cycles constantly repeat themselves throughout history. The same sort of dynamics that you face on a daily basis. Time is going to keep progressing. It's going to keep destroying and clearing out the old, and then creating and bringing in the new. And in a way, the length of people's lives is not something that he focuses on as much as being the indicating factor of whether or not somebody lived a good life or had a fair shot at it or anything like that. That the ultimate goal is to try to live in the best way possible, to really embrace and make the most of life while it is here. And that, as long as that is done, then people should be able to rest assured that they're making the most out of it. They're doing what they can, and that whenever that comes to an end, they did what they needed to do while they were here. Lesson number 4 is not becoming a slave to pleasure and pain. This is something that Marcus Aurelius talks about a lot throughout the book. And, across the board, it's very common to want to run toward pleasure and run away from pain, right? We want to seek pleasure and escape pain. And that is sort of our most core animalistic nature as living creatures, right? You see it all throughout the animal kingdom that, on one end, they're trying to find food and reproduce. And on the other end, they're trying to not get killed in the animal kingdom. And so one of the things that Marcus Aurelius points out is to not allow the mind to be distracted with pleasures or agitations of the body. So in the sense of physical pain, a lot of times it can be very easy when there is physical pain to allow that to cloud our judgment, to allow that to prevent you from taking action that is needed or from doing what it is your duty to get done. Pain becomes a blocker in those scenarios. And so he talks about understanding that pain is something that the body is experiencing, but you are not just your body, right? You have your mind and your soul separate of that. And so being able to distinguish between the two can help allow you to continue moving forward on your righteous path despite pains that you may be experiencing. And then on the other side, from the pleasure point of view, he talks about how almost silly it is that we get so caught up in these physical pleasures, these sensations of the body that are pleasurable, and how that can even more so cloud judgment and can prevent anyone from acting morally or justly, can distract them away from their duties and from their roles and responsibilities. So the idea is to not sort of swing drastically between pleasure and pain and going through all of these extreme highs and lows, but to more stay centered and grounded and to stay on a more neutral path where you understand that pleasure and pain are equally balanced throughout your experiences, that you'll never have a pleasure without a pain, you'll never have a pain without a pleasure, but to more stay down the middle and to stay grounded as you progress through your life. Lesson number 5 is understanding our role as human beings. And this is not a scenario where he's projecting what your specific tasks need to be done, right? Everybody is here with a different purpose and with a different path that they'll take, different careers that they'll work in, different things that will inspire and be important to them. But the idea ultimately is that as human beings, we are here to make a meaningful impact on society, on our world. We're called to be good citizens and good members of society, of our city, our state, our country, whatever that may be. We're here to look out for one another and to take care of each other. And he has this really awesome quote at the beginning of book 5, where he's talking about how most of us just prefer to stay under the covers in our bed and stay warm and to not want to get up and start the day. But that if we looked out into nature and realized that all of the other animals are starting their day nice and early and getting to work and doing what they're put on this planet to do, they're going and doing their role, that why would we want to do anything other than also get up and start making our impact and completing our tasks as human beings. So it really gives this inspirational, borderline motivational speech of just remembering that we are here for something spectacular. We're incredible human beings, and we have meaning to our existence, and we have the capability to use our creativity and our ability to think to go out there and do tremendous things that not just benefit our lives, but the lives of everybody else that's here, the lives of future generations that don't even exist yet. So stepping up to the plate and making sure that you're getting that stuff done, that you're giving it your all in this one incredible opportunity that we have at life, that really is the message that I believe Marcus Aurelius is trying to get across. Lesson number 6 is trying to achieve a mindset of presence, not being too distracted by your past, not being too caught up in your future, but staying present, staying grounded, staying in the now. And he explains that when that is achieved, your mind can be like this ultimate sacred temple, this safe space that no matter what is going on around you, no matter what you're dealing with in the physical world, that if you can achieve presence and stillness within the mind, that becomes this safe place that you can always retreat into, this place that you can sort of metaphorically go to be sheltered from everything else that's going on. And because your mind is always with you, that means you have that temple, that place of serenity and peace wherever you physically are on the earth. And so this is obviously something much easier said than done, reaching this level of mindfulness and presence. And it's likely unrealistic to have a fantasy that can be a permanent state that's always achieved every second of the day. But the idea is to be mindful of it and to have it be something that you do place focus and attention on, and whatever strategies and techniques and thought processes help you reach that state of presence, that having those in place so that you can utilize them when necessary to ground yourself and to center yourself, that's really an important thing. And I think it is sort of this underlying theme with Stoicism is the idea of just being at peace with where you are, with what's going on, and not allowing yourself to be pulled into the past, pulled into the future, distracted by pain or by pleasure, to just remain level-headed throughout. Lesson number 7 is acceptance. And this is something that is intertwined with previous lessons that we've talked about, but I think it's important to identify it as its own distinct takeaway from meditations. The idea is to just sort of observe what is happening and to accept things for the way they are. I think the underlying message is really to focus on what you can control. So in any event, with any person, any scenario, you can control the way that you react. You can control your mindfulness and your mentality towards it. You can help yourself remain grounded and present. And you can ultimately take that situation and implement in the best that you can your next set of actions based on it. And that's really all that you can control as you go through your life, right? There are events that might take place that are out of your control. There are other people on this planet that in a lot of scenarios will act in their best interest, and that may not always align with your best interest. So while it can be easy to fall into judgment and and getting caught up just thinking about how things could have been if they hadn't played out that specific way. The idea is to not waste a bunch of energy and time and headspace on that, but rather to accept things for the way that they are, to not judge them, and to construct and then implement the best plan of action possible based on what has taken place and what it is that your purpose is and your goals are moving forward. So we have just barely scratched the surface for Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This book is literally full of quotes that are game changers, tons of takeaways from this book. If I may interject personally, I think I highlighted something from almost every single page from start to finish for the entire book. It's a book that I'm setting out to read once per year moving forward because of how impactful it is and because I think there is more that you can take away from it every time that you read. This book is incredibly impactful. I hope these 7 lessons have been helpful to you on your journey and that maybe they've inspired you to read the book in its entirety. If you have any follow-up questions, if you have any further comments, any more pieces of insight or knowledge that you can share with the rest of the community watching, please do so in the comments down below. Again, I really appreciate your time and attention. Thanks so much for watching through this video, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day.